Who is your daddy? I am your father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?
Here we go. Episode 38
Welcome
is underway.
to Fathers of the Grind.
Do it.
You have to say it.
You can do it. No, you can do it. Go ahead.
Welcome to Fathers of the Grind, episode 38, with your host, Derek Matthew Tigue, and your co-host, Timothy, I don't know your middle name, Nestor.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Derek, for that wonderful intro. That's the nicest you're going to hear us the entire night, because Penn State and Michigan played today, and I'm still wearing my Penn State shirt. Here's the thing. Penn State got creamed today. They got destroyed. They got plastered. They got flattened today. All right? I'm just going to say it right out of the gate. I'm not ashamed of still being a Penn State fan. The closest I ever have come in my life.
We talked about that a few weeks ago.
We did. Yep.
About me getting made fun of for wearing a Michigan shirt when they had lost.
To App State or whatever else. Sure. But
yeah.
The only times I've been ashamed of Penn State were 3-4 years ago, I think it was 4 years ago now, with the whole Sandusky stuff. That's the only time that I started to feel a little bit like I'm gonna put my Penn State stuff in the back of the closet for a little while, because that was rough, and I'm glad they cleaned house. But now they're just not a great football team. They're just not very good, and they're poorly coached. So, I mean, when we struggled to get out ahead of Kent State to start things off, and then when we lost to Pitt, who's a solid team, but we were manhandled by Pitt. We're lucky that we made the score look as decent as it did by the end. And then we lost, and then we barely beat Temple, a weak Temple team. And so as soon as we walked into the big house, we walked into Michigan, number 4 in the country, just coming off of a but a scare from Colorado last week. Yeah. I knew Michigan was going to be on their A game. I had a bad feeling going in, and I had bad feelings throughout as well. So it was an ugly game.
I never overhype Michigan going into a game. I'm always cautious. I was very cautious before Colorado. I was actually really nervous about them playing Colorado because I was looking, doing a little bit of research. And then Penn State, I didn't do research. I kind of know Penn State. I shouldn't say this because I'm actually a Colorado fan, but I know Penn State better than Colorado just because Colorado has not been relevant for the last 10 years. Even though I'm a fan, they don't do anything.
And Penn State's in the Big Ten.
Penn State, we played them. Yeah, and we played them last year, and they were competitive in the beginning. So I was expecting them to be. I knew they had lost Hackenberg, but I was expecting them to be decent.
Right.
And not to be insulting, but they were very underwhelming. I even texted you in the second quarter when it was like 28-0, and it was 4th down. Here's the best part. This is why your coach is a complete moron to me. It's 4th and 1, I believe, 4th and 1 or something like that. And you're on like the 3-yard line. So you can either go for the touchdown. So it was 4th and goal. It wasn't 4th and 1. It was 4th and goal. You can either go for the touchdown or go for the field goal. But time was like expiring, and he had his field goal team out. So he, on the clock, not on the game clock, but on his like play clock. And he calls a timeout. So everybody in the broadcasting crew, me, I'm sure you, sitting there were like, okay, he's calling a timeout on the field goal. He's going to now go for it because it's 28-0.
As you should.
No.
Right. Yes.
He kicked the field goal. And so after they did it, some people would be like, okay, well, he'd already planned to kick a field goal. That's fine. It would have only backed him up 5 yards. So from a 21-yard to a 26-yard, if you don't have a kicker who can kick a 26-yarder, then you don't have a kicker who can kick a 21-yarder, and you shouldn't be going for it. Or you should be going for it. So I just was, like, blown away. And I don't watch James Franklin as much as you. It's James, right? Yep. Okay. I don't watch him as much as you. But I do remember him from last year's game. He was way more animated. It felt like he'd already quit.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm reading into it.
He's striking me as a little bit strange this year. Yeah, last year he was very animated. Even against a team like Rutgers, he was so excited when we pulled out the win. Maybe that was 2 years ago. But he was very excited and very excitable and exciting to watch and very energetic. And he's just lost some of that fire, it seems, this year. I don't know if it's the weight of realizing, hey, we lost so many defensive players that even Temple and Kent State their offenses are having their way with us. And so, of course, when we play Michigan, when we come up to Ohio State, when we play Wisconsin or Michigan State, any of the other strong teams in the conference, we're going to get scored on a lot. So I wonder if the weight of that is just kind of hitting him, that his recruiting classes are now starting to be the starters and the main players, and they're nowhere near as strong as what O'Brien had pulled in when he was our coach. He was pulling in some strong players despite all the sanctions. And anyway, I know this isn't football podcast, but I was disappointed but not surprised. I just kind of wish the final score was 49-10, I think. And so
I was disappointed we gave you a touchdown, to be honest.
yeah, I know. I thought you might be sad about that. But I'm glad it's over. We can move on past it. Yeah, as long I'm just hoping we pull out another 6 or 7 win season and get some decent recruits. I honestly kind of hope. I don't ever hope that someone loses their job, but in this case, I hope that James Franklin is gone. We just need a different coach. He's not a very good coach. Okay, so
he's not good.
You guys have heard us talk about the notes before. We have a Google Doc that we share, and then as we gear up to recording, we make sure we write down our thoughts, whether it's just stuff we don't want to forget or kind of thoughts we want to throw back and forth to each other, and then just a general structure for the show. And so since this week I had kind of dropped the ball and hadn't filled them out very well, Derek kind of picked it up for me and was filling things out, which is great. I think we got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about this week, and he opened things up with a nice big giant picture of Go Blue with the Michigan M on it. So thanks for that. That's a great what a great reminder of what today was. So all right, so let's move on past.
Enjoy it. So.
Yeah, you do. You deserve it. I mean, Michigan's a good team. I'm actually not sure who I'm going to root for, Michigan or Ohio State, when that game comes around. So we'll see how. Well, probably just for the underdog. Whoever's not supposed to win, that's who I'll cheer for. But okay. So let's talk a little bit about non-football things, because football was painful today. Let's talk about Destiny. Yeah, let's talk about Destiny. So last night, you and I and Jamie were supposed to play some Destiny, and maybe a few others from the group. We had talked about it. But Jamie decided not to start installing the game till like 11 p.m. or something. He's like, this will be fine. No, I'll have plenty of time. And so Jamie was a late cut from that group. And so then we had our buddy Frank Clark, or Crank Flark, depending on how you want to call him. That's fine. He joined, and the three of us got to run some missions. We went through the entire storyline of Rise of Iron, the new expansion, and then we did a couple other things after that. So let me start with you. You are by far, between the two of us, you are by far the bigger Destiny player. You've played a lot more than I have. You've experienced more of it than I have. I didn't jump in until last year's Taken King expansion, and I still haven't finished all the original story stuff or all the strikes. I haven't even tried a raid, so I'm way behind. So tell me a little bit, what were your thoughts on Rise of Iron?
I like it. Again, I'm not a hard sell when it comes to Destiny, but it's more of the same. But one of the things, and we talked about it last night as we were playing it, that I really liked is it has like a Game of Thrones vibe. The music, the setting, just pretty much they were heavily influenced by that, and I really liked it. I thought it's something you would be like, Destiny, Game of Thrones, that doesn't really go. But they did a good job of making it Destiny, but having that vibe of Game of Thrones. But overall, I mean, I'll judge it based off of the amount of content. It's not a lot, not for $30. And what I'm talking about here is story missions, strikes, and raids. There's only one raid that's been added. As far as I know, only one strike. And then there was 4 or 5 story missions. Yep. Now, after you complete the main story, like you beat the final boss, you get a bunch of quests. So there is plenty to do. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about main stuff that usually attracts people. And there's just not a lot. But overall, it's still a fun game. If you like Destiny, you'll definitely like this. If you don't like Destiny, it hasn't changed. It's just it's more of the same until I believe, and I have no proof on this, I do think they've taken all the feedback, and I think Destiny 2 is just going to be a huge change from what we've gotten. So that's why they're kind of staying safe right now, not putting out a lot of content, because this year, I mean, compared to the Taken King, Rise of Iron doesn't have nearly as much. And then previous to that, they were giving out free stuff, like free content, and it really wasn't like anything major. So to me, it's pretty obvious they're completely focused on Destiny 2.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So,
well, and as someone who
I like
is,
it. You?
I was not an original Destiny player, but I did play, like I said, Taken King. I thought Rise of Iron was fun. It was very short, and it was a very brief game, but the cutscenes were cool. I thought the acting and the dialogue was a little more interesting. Now, since we were in a group and we were kind of chatting throughout, I don't know that I totally followed the story, but I do know that the lore has some interesting points to it. I do know that some of the things we're trying to do and the bosses we were fighting and the motivations behind this new character who's introduced, who's kind of sending you out to run these missions. It's interesting, and I liked the history of it. I like that he kind of explained stuff. Again, the cutscenes are cool. It definitely has a House Stark vibe to it from Game of Thrones, you know, with the wolf imagery everywhere. And the music, we talked about the music as we were playing. Like, man, this music is epic and totally worthy of listening to the soundtrack on iTunes or Spotify if you have access. But great game. It still plays fantastically. The guns are still the same. Like, there's nothing new in terms of the gameplay experience. But that doesn't mean it's not fun. That doesn't mean it's not good. I really enjoyed it. I had fun playing with you guys. And actually today, as I'm home all day, I've got football games on, but, you know, also bouncing back and forth between a few video games here and there. I almost fired it up just to get a few more strange coins for a gun that I want to buy. So I'm still liking it. You know, it definitely is a game that can get its hooks in you. If you like first-person shooters and have never tried it, Jesse White, then you should play this game. Like, if this is not a game that you've given a fair shake, you should definitely play this game. Maybe Jesse has played it, but he's someone that comes to mind that I'm surprised he's not more into it, because it's just it's a great game for anyone who enjoys a well-made, strong mechanically first-person shooter. So I really liked it, and it was a lot of fun playing with friends too. So
I will say this to end the discussion with it: the best part of the game was listening to the cutscenes through your TV and hearing Optimus Prime narrate everything.
This new guy,
the voice was like distorted, and so it sounded exactly like Optimus Prime.
It's the Saladin character, right? Isn't that his name? I'm pretty sure that's his name, but if it's not the same voice actor, then this guy definitely found his inspiration in the voice actor.
I believe it's the same voice actor.
I mean,
it was just super cool how it was coming through your TV, or going out your TV through your headphone, going in through mine, and I could hear it, and I was like, "That's Optimus Prime." Like, I can hear it on my TV, but your version sounded like Optimus Prime.
Yeah, it sounded like he was about to say to roll out, what is it? Autobots? I don't know. I'm not a Transformers guy. Autobots, Decepticons. I don't know. All right, so let's talk about what we're playing, though. Besides Destiny, I had not really fired up Destiny except for once or twice this past week with the drop of Rise of Iron, and I probably will jump back into that once or twice again. Again, that's going to be social dependent a little bit. Like, I do want to earn a couple more strange coins before tomorrow. I might not be able to. That's okay. But, you know, if others decide, hey, you're going to do a raid, you know, we're going to put together a fire team, we're just going to run a few strikes, then I'd be up for that. So that game is back on my radar. But what else are you playing besides a little bit of Destiny?
Yeah, I'll keep playing Destiny. I think Destiny is going to replace Rocket League for me. I'm not having fun on Rocket League. Every time I log in, I'm lagging. Maybe it's my network because it's both Xbox and PS4. So I'm not saying I'm done with Rocket League, but Destiny will definitely replace it. Some of the stuff I've been playing lately is... let me say this. I'm trying to stay in Metal Gear Solid 5. So Friday when I got home from work, we're recording on a Saturday night, just so people know. I think they should know that since we watched Michigan versus Penn State. But I came home and I was like, instead of jumping into Destiny right away, because I knew I was going to play with you that night, I was like, let's jump back into Metal Gear Solid 5. So I completed a few missions, one of which I finished in like 30 seconds and got an S ranking, which was pretty cool. But I was disappointed that I've gotten to a mission, and I even tried to jump back in today, and I'm kind of lost, and it's kind of frustrating because even when I go online, I can't get an answer. But I'm on a mission where I'm supposed to pick up this fire guy's body or whatever, or you got to Fulton him, and I can't. I'm not at a high enough level. I guess my R&D team's not at a high enough level, and I haven't invested in figuring this stuff out, management. Like, you like the management stuff? I don't. Yeah. I just Fulton a bunch of people, and then you know how you can go in like where you build onto your base, I'll tell them to build onto my base, and that's it. I'm not paying attention to what they're doing, what they can build, and all that stuff. And so now it's kind of come back and haunted me because I have to do this mission to advance. I can't do anything else. So I'm kind of stuck there.
I do know that it matters who you assign to what too. So if you don't have to be careful about it. You can just go in and organize. You can order your list of guys.
Good.
Oh, okay, yeah, you have them automated. Okay, but you can also go and order them by their skill set and assign them to the right spot. I remember spending a little too much time at the beginning doing that, and then realizing that Kaz does some of that for you. And if you reorder it according to certain skill sets, then it's actually quite easy. It's quite simple, and then you can unlock more than you realize.
But I can find an answer online or something, or maybe somebody will listen to this and be like, "Listen, stupid." But
now you did get the silenced sniper trank, right, for Quiet? You did get that for her?
Yeah, I got that. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
really all you need. Once you have that, you're all set.
She's got that. I've got I'm trying to get like everything. I have like a little SMG silencer, the knockout gun, whatever you call it. And then I have a sniper rifle. And so I use those two mainly, and then I have like a grenade launcher if I have to just go, blow up people. So I'm still playing that. I'm trying. The other one I want to mention real quick is I'm trying to jump back in on. There's a couple games I want to play on PC, but I'm actually playing one of them, and that's Batman Origins.
Nice.
Realistically, with the fall, I'm not gonna do this, but I just want to jump in. That's one that I got pretty far on the Wii U and never finished, so I want to finish it. I was going to try to finish Assassin's Creed Rogue, but now I'm getting an error on my PC. So, PC gaming, so I couldn't even boot the game up.
Did you
and then
that
last
driver?
thing
Did
I
you
want to
clear
talk
the cache?
about.
Did you download all the drivers?
Well, here's the thing. This is what's so stupid. So, Rogue was working because I told you I played it like a week ago, and then I tried to play ReCore on my PC because I bought it digital so I can play it on PC or Xbox. I got an error for ReCore, so I had to update and uninstall things. Now I think what I did to fix ReCore has now broken Rogue because it's the same error I got before when I had to fix Rogue. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Gotcha.
So I'm over it. PC gaming. And then FIFA 17. I got early access to it through EA Access. I pre-ordered the game digital, but even if you don't pre-order it, if you have EA Access, you have it now and you have it for 10 hours. I gotta talk about this for a little bit, even though I know you're not a big soccer.
I do like soccer, actually. And you had made a post about you and your son doing the story mode on that. So tell us a little bit about that. How's that story mode?
Yeah,
and what's that experience
I haven't
like?
actually played much of the game, just playing matches and stuff like that. What I jumped into was the new story mode for FIFA. So it's kind of taking off what NBA 2K has been doing. Gosh, guys, they did an outstanding job so far. This is they've gone above and beyond anything 2K's done. What did they have? I forgot that one guy who did NBA's last year, and it was terrible. It was, acted. Spike Lee or whatever joint.
Spike Lee, yeah, it was a Spike Lee joint, right.
Yeah, it was dumb. It was just dumb. This so far, while it has some and I haven't beat it or anything, it has some obvious things that they're doing to kind of bring drama to it. It's so well done. It's acted really well. Your character's great. His grandfather's great. His mother's great. They're not annoying. They're all great. Even the agent who's supposed to be annoying
sounds like someone that you met and you went to their family reunion or something.
Yeah, and so. Just to kind of give you an idea of how it works, basically you're the 17-year-old kid, so no, you don't create them. That's another thing that they did that I think's better than NBA. See, NBA, they have you create your character and then you do a my player, so it's your player. The problem is you create this, for me, a white dude, but he has I'm just gonna say it, a black actor who doesn't sound white. So it doesn't sound it doesn't make you feel like you're playing you. Just like, black people have to deal with this too, other races, if they play with a white voice actor. So I didn't really like that. This is a character they've created, a world they've created, so they can use his name. They don't have to call you some stupid generic name. They call you Alex because that's who you are. But anyway, so you play as Alex, a 17-year-old kid, and he's basically a soccer phenom, and he has a best friend who he's played soccer with his whole life. They even show you in the beginning. And they've been playing together forever, and now they're trying out for the Premier League. They do tryouts. And so I did the tryouts. I got the opportunity to sign with a team. I'm not going to go into those details. That's boring. But basically, the way the story's unfolding, you're in competition with your best friend to make that team. And
that's cool.
It's pretty well done.
Yeah, that's cool.
I really, really like it. And the cool thing about it, because I was even thinking about it, I was like, man, EA Access gives you 10 hours. I could probably just beat this. And then I wouldn't even need the game. I could cancel the pre-order if I wanted to. No, they were smart. They cut it off. They cut me off. I played about 5 hours today with my son. Because you do training and then you do matches. And so my son was watching me. He's begging me. He's like, let me play one of your matches. I'm like, listen to me. And I said this. I'm not even doing this to be funny on the show. I said, I'll let you play. But if you do not score a goal with Alex or you get a rating below 7, you're never playing again. And so he played and he did okay his first match. But the second time he played, he got a 7.3. No goals. No assists. He let his best friend score a goal. I was pissed. And we didn't win the match.
Well, it's like the opposite of what you told him.
Out.
I mean, you threatened him and everything, and he didn't hold up his end.
Ian, you're out. You're not allowed to control Alex anymore. But anyways,
I played FIFA a couple years ago. I want to say it was FIFA 15, and I remember creating a player, had nothing near what you're describing. What you're describing sounds very cool. Really for any sport. That sounds like a very cool behind-the-scenes type of thing to have for a professional sports game. But I remember playing FIFA 15 and creating myself in that game, and they had all these nickname options, and I chose to call myself Ness, and I joined some... I don't know. I forget what club it was over in Europe, and that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. So I do like soccer games. It's just, to me, they always seem to be very much the same, not unlike Madden. It just so happens I'm a much bigger football fan, American football, than I am soccer. And so I've never really been one to buy the FIFA games every year. For a while, I bought all the Maddens, and FIFA I've probably owned maybe 2 different times over the years, 2 different FIFA games. And I think I also owned, there's another soccer game, I'm forgetting the name of the other one. International Superstar Soccer, or something like that. There's another soccer game. I forget what it's called. But I've played another one too. So anyway, all that to say,
they changed it though. It used to be a different name, and they changed it to PES.
Okay. Well, this one sounds like one that you want to be renting over a weekend or something, like grabbing it from Redbox or maybe even from.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's worth it because I do the same thing you do. I create a character and then I play the season. It's cool. They give you feedback. They tell you if you suck or whatever. But this actually makes you feel like a player. And then the one thing I didn't touch on that I'll say real quick is you make decisions. So how you talk to the media, your friends, your family, all impacts your relationship. So if you say certain things in the media, it'll tell you, it'll say your manager frowns on that.
Gotcha.
Or
it's like you can guarantee a win
followers.
Or whatever. Like you can talk a big game, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Like they tell you, if you say this, more people will follow you on Facebook, you'll become more popular, but your manager frowns on you, which means you'll get less playing time. That type of stuff. So there is impact. Or if you say that to your friend will not like you or get mad at you or whatever.
Okay.
So it's really
nice.
So far, so good.
All right. Well, I've been playing a few things, too. I did finish Assassin's Creed Rogue, and I stand by what I said last week. If you guys listened to last episode, it's a really solid game. I actually made a post about it yesterday because I was home with a sick kid yesterday, so I had some time to write out some thoughts on it. Basically, it's Black Flag with a new skin, a few new gameplay elements here and there, but not a lot. I mean, you won't notice a lot of difference. If you played Black Flag and you know that game in and out, then you can play Rogue and you can pretty much know that game in and out without missing too much. The story is what makes it different, the characters, and the setting is no longer kind of the tropical Caribbean setting of Black Flag. It's now the Northern Atlantic, up in eastern Canada and in New England. and a few other places too that I won't mention. But it's really, really interesting. I like it. Lots of ice, lots of snow. It's cold weather. You can't be in the water too long because your body temperature will start to drop. But you're still taking over forts. You're still, claiming hideouts. You're still trying to find treasure chests. You're still capturing other ships and adding them to your fleet to send them out on missions. It's still very much Black Flag. So there's not a lot that's changed. And so I like it. I like it a lot, actually. But what draws it from being like a 9 or 9.5 type of a game for me is the glitchiness. I know that at the same exact time that year, Unity came out, and Unity was absolutely crucified for its technical issues, for the problems that it had. Even though it's a beautiful game, I never finished it, but it is a beautiful game. Rogue wasn't talked about in the same light. And I wonder why that is, because I'm experiencing the same glitches that I saw in my, 4 or 5 hours of Unity that I tried. I experienced the same ones in Rogue. I mean, everything from the movement to enemies not showing up to just a sword comes floating at me and I couldn't stop it and it just killed me because the enemy didn't load in correctly. Or, all of a sudden I was trying to climb up this one area, but for some reason my character read me as going up this wall and that sent me over the edge and I died. Things like that happened a lot in Rogue, and so that ruined the experience to a small degree. But those things aside, it's a great game. One of the better Assassin's Creed stories that's told. The modern day is super lacking, but they do have some interesting, kind of Easter eggs or little ways to connect the lore from game to game. So it's really good. It's really solid. So if you're close to the end, I know you mentioned you had it on PC. If you do have a way to finish it, I'd recommend it, because at the end, the very final mission, without giving much away, it does a really cool job of tying it into another AC game, and your character actually crosses over with the story of another one, and it's really cool the way they do that. So, anyway, I recommend it if you get a chance.
So I'll try to.
Yeah.
Anything else you're playing besides Destiny?
Yeah, so
and,
finished AC Rogue.
Rogue.
I started this little game called This War of Mine, The Little Ones. It's a management resource game. It's a side-scrolling game. The art style reminds me a lot of what was that game called? There was a side-scrolling. This Work of Mine. You're not wrong. It was called Dead. Oh shoot, what was it called? There's a side-scrolling zombie game that's like everything's kind of shadowed and shaded and dark, and it's really artsy. I forget what it's called, but anyway, the artwork is very unique. It looks really good. The characters look cool. They each have like real-life, real human pictures there with their bio. Those are all your survivors, and you can build up your fort. A lot of it seems very much like a fun game, but as I'm getting into the gameplay loop, you described it pretty well. It does feel like work, because you have to organize and manage, and it's almost like The Sims in a very dark environment in some ways, because you have to manage their hunger. Are they content or are they upset? Are they? Does one of them smoke a lot? If they do, and you don't give them cigarettes, then they'll start to have issues. So you have all these different things you have to keep in mind throughout this game that does feel a little bit like work. So I had fun for the 3 or 4 hours that I played it. Don't know that I'll play much more of it, but if you like management sims, if you like resource management stuff, if you like building up your shelter, if you like the survival type of a game, there's no zombies here. This is all about these survivors, these civilians during a time of war. I'd recommend it. Yeah. It's pretty good. So not for you, Derek. Do not play it.
No, I will not play it. And I own it on PC, so I made the mistake of buying it. I thought I would like it because I liked the idea of it, like, during a war, and you're not military, you're just a survivor trying to get through. But it's not my type of game, so I'll stay.
It is kind of cool. I mean, one of my characters was a reporter, one was a former soccer player, one was a chef. And so they each have their own skills. The soccer player is really good at scavenging late at night because he's a fast runner. So he can kind of run in and scavenge stuff and run out before, these other survivors see him and attack him, because they'll attack you. Some of them will offer to trade with you. Some will come knocking on your door. Some will loot you at nighttime if you don't have someone on guard. So there's a lot of cool gameplay loops that are there that are fun. But you have to have the right mindset. You have to really like that kind of stuff. There's not a lot of action. I think I fought maybe once or twice, and I had to kind of go out of my way to find someone to fight. It's mostly about resource management. So it's fun in a certain way, but it's not necessarily something that I'll spend a lot more time with.
Now, does it have like a story at all?
From what I can tell, the story is told in your experience. So they each have their own bio, and their bio gets added to as things happen. So this lady came and knocked on our door and said, "Can you come help? My husband's gone. He hasn't come back, and I need someone to help me board up our doors so we don't get looted." And so you can either decide to send one of your survivors or say no. And so I sent one to help her, and the other guy was then mad at that guy. Like, their relationship was now messed up. Like, they don't like each other anymore because he didn't think the guy should have gone. So, like, the story's kind of told in your experience, how you decide to either make trades or not. You know, are you going to be generous? Are you going to be stingy? Are you going to be aggressive? So the story's there, but there's not cutscenes. There's no dialogue to read. So unless I just didn't get far enough in the game, it seems to me that the story is all about surviving. One quick thing, this one's the subtitle is The Little Ones, and I have not yet found any little ones. So I feel like I'm pretty early in the game because I think the kids are a big part of this, and I haven't gotten
the kids are DLC. So I don't know how they tied it in, like if they added them in the main game, but the main game came out, and then the little ones is DLC that came out after the game.
Well, it's interesting because I've gotten a few items that are clearly meant for kids.
Ones
one in particular is like the stuffed bear that I found when I was scavenging, and I know that's clearly meant for me to give to a child to help their happiness meter or whatever go up. So I'm not sure if that's going to naturally flow into this game or not.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So
one thing I will go back to it at some point, but it's a little bit stressful too, like because you're constantly behind on something. You constantly don't have enough something. Someone's too hungry, or there's too much danger, or you're going to get looted if you don't, board up the windows that night. It's one of those games that generates a feeling of stress for me, which is not great because you're constantly behind, and no matter how much progress you make in this area, something else is now going on. That you have to now watch out for this area. So it's a little stressful, and you calling it work is actually fairly accurate. It does feel like work. Every time you finish a project, something else is on your plate. So
nerd work, so you would love it.
True. All right, I'm also playing BioShock. I got the collection, and I was working my way through BioShock 1. I got interrupted by Destiny and just by life. It's been a busy week again, but it did get interrupted a little bit. But I am totally planning on playing BioShock all the way through to the end, and I really want to play BioShock 2 all the way through to the end.
That's the one I want to play.
I plan on going back to Infinite, but I'm not in a rush to get there. I played that one just 2 years ago, start to finish, and I liked it a lot. I love BioShock Infinite, but I don't feel the need to go back to play it. BioShock 1 I played years ago. BioShock 2 I never finished. I don't even remember how far I got in that game, but I know I didn't finish it. And then, of course, I want to try the DLC. Everyone talks about Minerva's Den and some of this other DLC. Yeah. So I do want to get to those. One more game I'll mention real quick before we move on. I just today decided my next big game before we get to Mafia 3, at least for right now, is going to be Hitman. So I jumped back into Hitman, and I kind of got myself refreshed with the controls and the abilities that he has, and I went through the Paris mission, and I did a number of the different angles in the Paris mission. And I've also discovered there's lots of different objectives or mini missions within that mission. So you can go into it saying, I'm not going to do the main objectives here. There's 2 people you're supposed to assassinate. I'm actually going to do this side assassination that they added. So they added content to these main mission areas, which is great. And so there's lots of replayability. I'm getting really familiar with the it's not a castle, it's like a mansion. And so it's a lot of fun. Like I'm rediscovering why I loved the Hitman games, and so I'm really enjoying that. I played that today, and I think that's going to be something that I might end up buying.
Did you buy the rest
of
it? Or just I was going to ask you.
No, not yet. I'm still working through Paris, but I think I'm going to buy the rest of it because it's pretty cool, and it plays more smoothly, and it looks better than any other Hitman game. So there's a lot of reasons to jump into that. So there you go.
I'll play that in 2000 and never. Although it did look pretty cool.
That sounds like a bad high school band name. 2000 and never.
2000 and never. I did want to add on that I finally paid off PlayStation VR. So me and my brother went. We basically split the cost. So I'm kind of getting excited about that because I didn't realize it because I've been so focused on Gears of War 4 and Mafia 3 because they're 2 weeks away. So that's really exciting to me. That I haven't been thinking about VR really. In fact, I haven't done much research on like the games that I want. So me and my brother finally basically locked up a plan. We plan on getting Rise of the Tomb Raider for the PS4. We're going to get Drive Club VR, and then we're going to get the Batman VR game to start. We may even get some more. We're going to wait for some reviews. Like, Riggs looks really cool, but it could also be the dumbest game ever. So I really need to know, what it is. But, yeah, VR's locked up. I got it. I'm going to probably do maybe a half day the day it launches, because I'm already taking off October 7th for Mafia 3 and Gears of War 4. And then pick that up and give it a shot. So I'll definitely be sharing. Hey, I might just do a whole show wearing the VR headset.
Oh, boy. That'd be great. It would actually be cool to get Jamie's thoughts, too, whether he's able to actually join us for a talk or if he just wants to, either write in or record some of his thoughts. I'd be curious to get his take, too, because we've heard enough of you. So we want to hear what Jamie has to say. So
Rude. Rude.
All right,
Speaking
cool.
of rude,
I am interested.
I got a topless boy behind me.
It's not rude. That's normal. Rude. That's life as a parent. Yeah,
Yeah, he's still rude.
All right, so let's talk about. There's
All right.
not a ton in terms of headlines. There's a couple delays. We're going to talk about game delays in a little bit, but none of those are new necessarily. The main headline that we wanted to highlight again brings us back to Nintendo, and it's funny that we're going to talk about Nintendo because you and I just listed a bunch of games that we're playing, and how many of the games are we playing that are Nintendo games? The answer is 0. None of the games that you and I both just talked about, and we're saying, here are our thoughts on these, and I'm enjoying my time with these. None of them are Nintendo games, and yet I think this is like the second or third time in the last few episodes that we're talking about a Nintendo headline again. So it's interesting the way that neither one of us are spending time playing Nintendo games, but that's the headline that keeps grabbing our attention. So the recent news is that the Ubisoft CEO has come out and said some things about the Nintendo NX, which are very interesting. If you guys listen to IGN's Nintendo Voice Chat, the NVC podcast, then you heard Sam and Pear and a few others. I think it wasn't Brian. I'm trying to think of who was on that one.
Was Jose on there?
I want to say Zach, a guy named Zach from there. No, Jose it's gone. I think he's at TGS or something. But anyway, they talked about this, and they had some interesting thoughts on it too. So I recommend that if you are a Nintendo person.
Well, Jose's not there. I may watch it.
Let's listen to what he says here. He says, listen. He says it's easy to use and allows for a different experience from what exists today. I think once again the interface is very attractive. This is him talking about the NX again. It's a machine that will be easy to use for all gamers. They have built in something that will give us a chance to really have a different experience from what exists today. And that's what I like, that they can come with something new that is adapted to what we actually want now. And then he adds this. What we see is that Nintendo has learned from the Wii U. All publishers learn from what they do and then come with something new and more attractive, which I think is the case here. So, there's a few things in there that jump out at me. And the first thing is him saying, this is going to be a machine that's easy to use for all gamers. Is it bad that I actually get a little bit nervous about that?
Maybe he's hinting at, the mobile. Like, hey, mobile's easy, but also, I don't know. Here's my thing I did want to say before we jump in and dissect everything that he says. Ubisoft supported the Wii U in the beginning too, so they obviously have, or at least desire to have, a good relationship. Hi, Eli, with Nintendo. It's kind of creepy, and so I think they had faith in the Wii U as well. So when I saw this as a headline, I was like, if this was EA or Activision or something like that, then, even though I don't like Activision, but just somebody else, I would have probably taken it more serious. But since it's him, and he supported the Wii U until he realized, the Wii U's not selling, and then that's when they backed out and they stopped doing things. Well, to be fair,
didn't EA also support it? They put out, didn't they put out Mass Effect on the Wii U?
See, EA supported it. There was other, even WB supported, but they supported it in a different way. They were like, we're on your console, but we're just gonna put our old games on the console. And I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't do research, so I don't know this for a fact. But all they were was basically 360 /PS3 versions
with
on the
some
Wii U.
gamepad
the only difference is
additions
you could use the pad. But I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo had something to do with that, as far as helping create the ability to use the pad on there, and EA and all of them just staying out of it and just being like, yeah, you can have our IPs, our old IPs, on your system, but anything new, no, it's not going to come out because you don't sell good. And that's basically what happened. Because I know Rayman's, I don't remember which Rayman it was. I bought it too, and I forgot the name. It's not Origins. It was like
Legends.
the one after that.
Legends.
Yeah. Was supposed to be a Wii U exclusive.
Right.
And then, because of sales being so poorly, they delayed Legends and then released it on all the consoles. And that was when you knew the Wii U was in bad shape, because they were just like losing all their third-party exclusives. And even Zombie U eventually came out on the PS4. Well, they changed the name to just Zombie on the PS4, Xbox One. So they supported it in the beginning. They were giving them games that were just from Ubisoft on the Wii U.
And I think they put 2 of their major Assassin's Creed games on there too, right? Did they put 3 and 4 on there? I'm pretty sure they did.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure they put both those on there. So there's a couple of things he says that hint to me that this is going to be much more of a casual device than I was hoping for. And not only did he say it's easy to use for all gamers, but he says they've built in something. This is interesting phrasing. They have built in something that will give us a chance to really have a different experience from what exists today. I don't know what that means, but the last sentence in that paragraph really concerns me. He says, they come with something new that is adapted to what we actually want now. When he's saying we, as a culture, as just as a society, with the way we interact with technology, a lot of that is phone-based and mobile-based and simple and free-to-play and quick access and short experiences. And the more that kind of stuff is mentioned, the more I'm concerned that this device, I'm hoping it's not, but it sounds like it's going to be limiting to this in the same way that a phone is limiting in what it can do. I hope that's not the case. But I just get the feeling that it's going to be a device that's really simple and in a bad way simple. Like it doesn't have enough to it for there to be real good game experiences. That's all. That's what concerns me a little bit. Well, it sounds
like, at least the way he's presenting it, again, we don't have any facts, but and even with, if you combine it with like what Kevin Pereira was trying to say as well, it sounds like it's going to be what we all think it is, and that is a mobile type device or handheld device that can also hook up to your TV. It's 2 devices in one.
Yep.
That makes me happy.
Me too.
And
I like that.
Or if you look what he's saying it's easy to use. So I think what they're trying to do is they want that handheld to be. We talked about it a couple weeks ago, or even maybe last week, about how Nintendo's now getting into mobile. So they're going to link whatever they release on mobile, probably on this new system as well. So that's probably what he's talking about. Easy to use, like soccer mom can use this because it's like a mobile game, but also it's gonna. He then says it's gonna give us or we what we want, and I think that's linking, making Nintendo all one. You have your handhelds, you have your consoles. I'm guessing it's going to be just as powerful as the PS4 and Xbox One. Nobody should ever think it's going to be more powerful than that. I would love to think they would. Like, they would be like, oh, Scorpio's coming. Let's make it power. They're not going to. Yeah. It's probably going to be like an Xbox One as far as power. And they're just going to, I think, be mobile and home all in one. I think that's what we're going to get.
And
that
probably
makes me
very
happy,
probably very digital and card or cartridge based. And so cartridge makes people think old school Nintendo 64 and SNES. I mean more of a card, SD card style, maybe even 3DS card style delivery system, which is going to be great. And then I think a lot of digital. I mean, Nintendo has really embraced the digital download side of things for distribution, both for Nintendo Direct and for their eShop. I mean, that's really what they lean on for a lot of their games. And I could see them going very heavy digital this time.
I have a Nintendo and /Nintendo Rewards account, and it's now, they finally connected it all. So if I go and buy something online, I can actually download it straight to my Wii U. Like
Which I realize is, they're way behind because you can do that with Microsoft and Sony for a while. Yeah. So you're right, they're behind in that, but they certainly aren't
doing it now.
They're doing it now.
They've done it in the last year.
Right, and even back with the DSi and with the Wii, of course, a lot of their stuff was downloadable content. A lot of what made the Wii a valuable system to me as a gamer wasn't the games that came out on disc. It was the Virtual Console and then a lot of their smaller downloadable titles that they put out that I thought were pretty solid on the Wii. So the last thing he says gives it a nice positive spin. Yeah, me too.
Just
right as of right now, I'm still planning on getting it.
About it.
There's a positive spin to his quote that I wanted to make sure we highlight and not sound too negative on it, at least for me. And that is, he says that what we see is that Nintendo has learned from the Wii U. All publishers learn from what they do, and they come with something new and more attractive, which I think is the case here. I read that and I get excited that, okay, he's saying he can recognize that they saw what they did wrong with the Wii U. In just looking at the device that he has in front of him from Nintendo, he can tell that they've learned from their mistakes last time. That means there's got to be something physically apparent about it, whether it's the interface, whether it's the design, maybe it's the power of it. Something about the Wii U was learned, and they've adjusted. And so that is exciting to me. And whether it's a combination of it being a more powerful system than we would expect from Nintendo, or maybe not. Maybe it's not incredibly powerful. Maybe it's more about the interface or the interaction or the customization that's going to be available to us, or maybe the way they're linking all the accounts and all previous Nintendo eShop games or something are now available on this system. Something about it, he is saying, wow, they really learned from the Wii U. And they're riding the ship here. So that was encouraging, and I'm excited for that.
I'm going to go on a limb and say that he's talking because he owns or a big owner of a Ubisoft. So what he cares about is being able to develop games for it or publish games for it. But I'm going to guess he's talking about the power, even though he's not coming out and saying, well, the machine's finally where it's level with everybody else. I think what he's saying is Nintendo's learned from the Wii U because they kind of went and did their own thing, and that kind of segregated them from publishers and developers because they were like, look, you're not selling enough. Why would I make for this? Same thing with the Vita. Why would I make for this system when I could just make games for the Xbox One and PS4 that are kind of similar, like as far as power level and quality that you can get from them? And they sold so much more. So that I'm thinking he's talking about that they're finally on par with everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's more or even, and that will allow Ubisoft and other third-party developers to then go, now we can make games at the same time for all three. Now, of course, Sony's jacked that up with the Pro,
yes,
but we won't get into that.
Well, and I wonder if it does have something to do with the ease of development, and I don't know where along the line Nintendo has made it more difficult. Whether it's a power thing, or maybe it's just something with the tools that are now provided, or with the way that the games can be delivered. Something about it is making it easier, perhaps, for developers and publishers. So those things are exciting, because if that's the case, then that would encourage more development and more publishing of actual games for this new system, which means, hey, now we're going to get more games. And so that's exciting to me, too. That's the one thing about the Wii U that we joke about, but it's true. Their release schedule was embarrassingly low, especially here in the last year or two. So pretty rough there. All right, so we'll, of course, talk more about that as we learn more. We were hoping that Nintendo would have had an announcement by now. It is September 23rd today, or 24th today, and we were hoping to have something on the 21st was a rumored date, or somewhere around this week. We were hoping for Nintendo to
We
put
know
together
it's coming
something
soon,
official. Yeah,
because even a Nintendo rep at TGS said, I don't know who it was, I don't even remember what show I was listening to, but they said, soon, we can talk, soon. Is that a good accent? Or was that racist? I don't know.
That was great. I'm just marking it to edit that out because it was so offensive.
Soon. Thank you, soon.
Just a quick shout out to our good buddy on Twitter, Kaz Harai. He actually commented on this. He says Nintendo were criticized for how they revealed the Wii U, so they decided to do things differently this time by never revealing the NX. And that's how it feels right now. That's how it feels.
They've really that's what he's talking about from Ubisoft. Yeah. They've really learned from their past mistakes. They're just not gonna launch anything. They're just like, we're not gonna do anything.
Yep. All right, so we are getting ready to hit October. So that means if you're looking at your calendar, we're almost 75% of the way through the year. That means quarter three is over. We're heading into quarter four, heading into holiday season, and it means that we are getting closer and closer to Game of the Year discussion. Now, last year's Game of the Year discussion was much more lively and much more animated because there were so many options, so many worthy contenders, from Bloodborne to even Batman. If you liked Arkham Knight, I didn't like it as much as others, but or Metal Gear Solid 5, and of course you had The Witcher 3, and then you had the games of the fall, which I'm blanking out on some of the bigger ones. But Fallout 4, obviously people loved Fallout 4. Mm-hmm. There were so many major releases last year, and then you get to this year,
Rocket League,
and Rocket League, of course. And this year is nowhere near the same caliber. There are still a lot of games that have come out, but the caliber is different. So the conversation is still interesting, but it's interesting in a different way, because now now you're looking at a bunch of games that are good, between good and really good, but not as many great as there were last year. Yeah. So, but what we want to do is we want to just do a quick recap, just kind of a touch base. What would be your quick, top of your head, top 3 so far this year for Game of the Year? So we'll start with you. Give us your number 3. If you had to order them, okay, you're doing 3, 2, 1. Give me your number 3 as of right now, Game of the Year.
If I'm remembering correctly, I'm going to go with Uncharted 4. But I could be forgetting a game. But yeah, for right now.
Well, and this is fluid. I mean, when in about 3 months or so, when we really start to narrow it down, I think we'll get a audience poll and survey going too, so we can have the entire Fathers of the Grind group kind of vote together on this.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely do that. We're gonna have the 2.4569 listeners vote
That's
for
right.
the Game of the Year.
Yeah, the majority is going to be really easy to reach for some of these. But okay, so Uncharted 4 for you is number 3. For me, my number 3 game as of right now would probably be Fire Emblem Fates, and that's after only putting maybe 20 hours into it. So I haven't even finished Conquest, but Fire Emblem Fates would be my number 3 game so far. With a game like Hitman, though, it has a potential of kind of bumping its way up in there because I'm really enjoying Hitman. So, all right, what's number 2 for you? And I see you have a little friend sitting by you now.
Hello. Number 2 right now, I would have to say, is Deus Ex: Mankind Divided.
Nice. And you've talked about that one quite a bit, but we'll get back into discussion about that one when I finally get a chance to play it, probably next month.
I would like for you to play
it. For me, number 2 would be Far Cry Primal. And this is a great example of a completely biased opinion. I can't objectively say that Far Cry Primal is one of the greatest games this year, but I can subjectively, from my personal experience, say it's some of the most fun that I've had this year. I know most people that I've talked to about it think it's pretty good, but not amazing. I thought it was amazing. I loved everything about it, just the setting and the weapons you got to use and the stealth and the animals, and I just really loved it. I loved the dangerous feel of that entire environment. So Far Cry Primal is my number 2. All right,
and number 1 is not really a shocker. It's still going to be Dark Souls 3. I mean, Deus Ex, I said Deus Ex and Dark Souls are tied, but I'm going to give the edge to Dark Souls only because towards the end of my second playthrough of Deus Ex, I kind of got to that point where, sometimes you're just like, all right, I just want to get it over with, so I kind of sped through it. Right. Whereas Dark Souls 3, I don't remember ever feeling like that. I was just like, I just want to keep playing. Yeah. And I even started a third round of that too. So, so right now I'd say Dark Souls 3.
All right, for me, my number 1 is the same as your third place game. That's Uncharted 4. I think people are overly harsh on that game. I think Uncharted 4 is...
I think you're reading your list wrong. I'm pretty sure there was a different number 1.
We'll get to that one in just a second. That's my honorable mention. But Uncharted 4, I think, is an incredible accomplishment in video gaming. Visually, absolutely stunning. The story and the characters. I mean, the characters of Nathan Drake and, of course, Elena and Sully, and then the new character, the brother they introduced, Sam. And the bad guy's okay, but it's really more about those 4, and it's really strong. Incredibly acted and incredibly written. The music's wonderful, and the visuals are breathtaking. Uncharted 4 is a masterpiece of a game, so I think that's probably going to end up being my number 1 at the end of the year. But, we still have games like Mafia 3 coming out, so you never know what could overtake it. Hitman could end up really capturing me here over the next few days as I dig into it. But for right now, it looks like a pretty obvious Uncharted 4 win for me. this year, but we'll get there.
Really?
And of course,
that was what I was curious about, and why I wrote down, let's recap our top 3 is, do you potentially see for the fall release? Because I know we said this year's not been that great, and I agree. Yeah. But when I look at the fall, I'm getting really hyped about games, and there's just certain games, like I told you, I wasn't even thinking about PSVR because of 2 games. So is there any game or games that you think could enter your top 3? You don't have to say, yeah, they'll be my number 1, but like, hey, Mafia 3 could be in my top 3 or so on.
There's 4 that have potential jumping in there. Number 1 is Hitman. And that could jump up there as I think I will buy the other mission packs and then really dig into that game. 2 would be Deus Ex Mankind Divided, because I was surprised at how much I liked Human Revolution, and so I think the sequel, from all that I've heard, it improves in so many ways. So I'm excited for that one. Mafia 3, we've already talked about. And then it's possible that Watch Dogs 2 could sneak in there as, hey, wow, Ubisoft got this game right. Like, they took the things I liked about Watch Dogs, but, just thought the rest of it was okay, and they improved all those things. They add a bunch of extra stuff, and who knows, that Watch Dogs 2 could take me by surprise. So those 4 could sneak in there.
Watch Dogs 2 to me is like a wild card, in that I really like the first one. So I was like, I know there's other people that liked it, but I really liked it, and I liked it because it was different than Grand Theft Auto. It was like more serious toned, and so I appreciated that.
Yeah, but the main character in Watch Dogs, Aiden Pierce, is one of the weakest.
Oh, he was trash. I've ever seen. He was trash. I agree that he was trash. I never felt connected to him or anything like that. This second one, I'm sure the main character's cool. I don't know. I've watched one video with him where he actually talks, and I was like, all right, he doesn't sound annoying. And but the overall, like, it doesn't feel like it has, like, a plot I'll care about. It feels like they're trying to make Grand Theft Auto 6, but with, like, watchdog special abilities, like hacking and things like that. And I'm like, that's not what and I know I'm speaking only for me, that's not what I wanted. So that's why I said it's a wild card, because I ended up loving Grand Theft Auto 5, but it took me, 3 years to get to that point where I said, I love this game. So that's why I think Watch Dogs 2 is a wild card for me, because if I go into it and enjoy it as much as Grand Theft Auto 5 this year when I played it, then it could definitely get in my top 3. But the 3 games that I think actually will compete, at least one of them will probably make my top 3. I don't think Uncharted 4 will survive. And that's Gears of War 4, Mafia 3, and Dishonored 2. I would love to say Final Fantasy 15 could, and it could, but I have this thing with JRPGs where I start them and I fall in love, and then I'm like, I'm 20 hours in.
Well, that's actually a good transition into our final topic here before we close out, and that is delays, game delays. So Final Fantasy 15 is one of a number of games that saw a delay from this planned fall release time. And so Final Fantasy 15 should have been available 1 week from yesterday. So it should have been coming out this coming Friday. Everyone could be excited about it, and we could all celebrate in the glory of a new Final Fantasy game.
Clayton and Mark are all going to start weeping on September 30th. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen.
And they should. We should have a moment of silence for what should have been the release date of Final Fantasy 15. The thing is, now it's moved into December, and that kind of brings up a question that I have, and that is, for game delays, do they hurt more than help? And I just wanted to get your thoughts on the positives that can come from a game delay, which are obvious: more development time, fine-tuning, working out the kinks, yada, yada, yada. I mean, obviously, you're not going to change a main gameplay mechanic if you delay it for 3 months, but you will maybe polish it up, work out some bugs, versus the hurt that it causes in the terms of the public opinion, maybe the hype for it, the skepticism of it. Maybe you lose some fans that would have purchased it because the window around September 30th is wide open. So
I mean,
What do you
Forza
think?
would have been your biggest competition.
Yeah, so tell me and now that they're going to release in December, which is not necessarily a great time to release a game. Usually you want to get those things out before Thanksgiving. So tell me what you think about this delay, not necessarily just for Final Fantasy 15, but also think about The Last
just in
Guardian, the South Park. There was a couple other ones that I'm blanking on. So tell me a little bit about game delays. Do they hurt more than help?
In my opinion, they hurt more. Now, I know the easy answer is to say, no, if a game's not, not right, you got that, I think it's Miyamoto's quote where he says, if you release a game and it's broke forever. If you delay it, you have the opportunity to fix it and make it right. I get that. I understand that. The problem is we are living in a current state of video games where you've got games like, and the three I wrote down were Last Guardian, Watch Dogs, and Final Fantasy 15, where delays have clearly not helped in any way at all. And you could go, well, what if the games are amazing? Yeah, maybe Watch Dogs we know was decent to bad for a lot of people.
Right.
It was not amazing. It was not what, even I, as somebody who liked it, what I saw at E3 the first couple times they showed it and what we got was not, like, I wasn't blown away by it, right? So I actually think the hype plus the delays crushed that game because it actually made people who may have kind of liked it easily switch to, I hate this game, I want to bash it, because they had such harsh feelings towards it because they had so much hype. And then you have the other two, and again, I'm just using these as examples, but I would say this for all games, where you've got these games that are getting delayed to the point where, and even No Man's Trash did this, to the point where I'm like, I have no interest in them anymore. I told you, I think it was last week, I said, thanks, Eli. Thank you so much for doing that.
Do anything.
I love this guy. I love him. All right. Where he said, where I said, basically these games, I had an interest in them, but then they got delayed so much that I've lost, like, that hype. And I said that about Final Fantasy 15, where after I saw the conference or that little party celebration, I was like, let's go! And then when they delayed it, I was like, and then I watched the movie, and I was like, the movie's good. Not amazing, but good. And I watched it now 3 months before the game's going to come out instead of 1 month. I'm losing a little bit of interest. Would you please stop? Sorry. Just stop. All right.
Well,
so
I agree with your point about the hype. That's a big deal.
I just think they hurt. I think it hurts more because, like I said, the easy answer is to say a delay is good because you're fixing your game. But my point is, you should have never announced it if there was even a chance it would get delayed. Like, you should.
Yeah, but the problem with that is,
some things that are unseen, like
right.
You can't see it. Like, I think with Last Guardian,
yeah.
Whatever happened was not something they were like, let's announce it and then we're gonna delay it. It was probably like, holy crap, this just happened and we announced this game and now it's not gonna come out for 15,000 years.
Yeah.
So I understand that, but I'm saying games like Watch Dogs, they knew that bad boy was not even close to being ready. Yeah. And they still announced it. They did it with Batman. Hey, it's coming out in October. No, it's not. You know it's not coming out in October.
But do you think that hurt Batman last year when they delayed that? I mean, because it came out in a time when there was no... I mean, what other games were coming out in late June? None. That was the marquee game of the summer.
I don't think games like... Look at the three games we're talking about here. We're talking about The Last Guardian, Final Fantasy 15, and... What was
Batman.
The other one I mentioned? No Man's Trash?
No,
before Batman.
Too, yeah.
Well, anyways.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But Batman is part of a franchise that we had already played 2 games of, and we know it's going to be good.
Okay.
Like, I've talked about this before. Like, when you release a new IP, and I like it, and then you announce a sequel, I do zero research, and I don't worry about it. I'm like, Dishonored 2, I've barely watched anything. I'm good. Watch Dogs 2. I watched a little bit because I was a little concerned, but overall, I'm not freaking out. those games, not a big deal. Games like Final Fantasy 15, even though I know there's been technically 14 others, many, many more, this feels like a new IP. Like, they're going in a different direction. It's very unknown because Final Fantasy 13 was not loved overall. And so this is kind of a shaky release. Same thing with The Last Guardian. Nobody has a clue what that is. And then I think it was No Man's Sky was one of them that nobody knew what that was.
Yeah.
And
well, let me give you a few examples of where it hurt and helped, in my opinion. I think with games like Batman, that was a good example of one, and also Uncharted 4, I think it helped. And maybe even Watch Dogs, I'll make an argument that I think it helped, and that is those games, if they are not polished and usable and at least for the most part bug-free, they can totally break the experience and totally ruin it. And those are such marquee releases. I mean, Watch Dogs was a major new IP release for Ubisoft. Huge open-world game, and it's the start of what's clearly going to be an ongoing franchise. Batman, like you said, continuing one of the most popular, if not the most popular, comic book video game franchises. And that had been critically acclaimed, except for Origins, and even that, I think, was underappreciated.
Origins is good, by the way.
Yeah, from what I've played, it is pretty good. I never beat it, but it is pretty good. And then, of course, Uncharted 4, one of the most celebrated video game franchises that exists, from one of the most celebrated developers that exists. So I think those delays, in the end, actually helped them because they were able to improve their games, at least according to them. And I'll believe that. I believe that they didn't want to delay it for any reason other than we need to iron this out. And those experiences, I've played all three, those experiences were great. At least on a technical level, they were really great. And so I think for Uncharted 4 in particular, moving it out of the busy, overcrowded fall season anyway into the spring was a smart move, and I think they absolutely killed it this spring with sales. So I think it can help. Here's two examples of where I think it was devastating. Number one is No Man's Sky. That game was, number one, miscommunicated from the start, and all that's on the game creator himself, Sean Murray. We know that. It's well documented. He really oversold what that game was going to be. And the delays hurt it so much because every time there was a delay, I had two thoughts. Number one, again? And the second thought was, maybe he's going to add some more cool stuff because this game is sounding awesome. So every time I would read more about it, I would think, okay, all those things are in there. And when there was another delay, I thought, wow, he's going to add even more to this. Like, this is going to be really, really great. And as it turns out, that game under-delivered in a lot of ways, in many, many ways. And what it did deliver was a very repetitive, although I think creative and unique gameplay loop. I think that game got destroyed by its delays. I also think Mighty Number 9, which had the chance of being like an indie darling, this great 2D side-scroller that's back to the glory days of Mega Man, and here we go. And that game was delayed and delayed and delayed, and the reasoning behind the delays sounded so weird. Like, for multiplayer purposes, this is really strange. And then it drops, and the game is hot trash. I mean, no one likes it. I've never heard one good review on Mighty Number 9. So I think it can be a hurt or a help. Honestly, I think more often than not, it's a help. Because you rarely hear about... I mean, it happens. I just mentioned two examples. But it rarely happens that a game is delayed and it comes out and people say, whoa, this game isn't ready. It shouldn't have come out yet. Usually, the games that get a major delay, they end up delivering, for the most part, what the audience wants. So I think they usually help. And I also just wanted to disagree with you. But I think they usually help. But I think they definitely have the potential to hurt the game. So...
Well, I think they help as far as, maybe the game runs better, but I think what I was trying to say is they hurt more in the end, especially if it's a hype game, because, you're losing some of that hype for a lot of people, and the ones that are remaining hype are now going to be overly harsh, especially if the hype keeps getting built. Like, No Man's Sky... its biggest problem is not that the game is so god-awful terrible. I'll say it is because it's not my type of game. But it's not really that terrible. What it makes it terrible is, you mentioned, yes, people are finding stuff that Sean said that isn't there.
Yeah.
But it's also that it wasn't what they thought it was going to be, which was built from the hype, which was also hype more because it was delayed and other things were happening to it. Like, people thought when they first saw it, they were going to get to see it pretty soon, like actually play it soon. And it went through years and years. That's what happened to Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs showed itself. Think about it. If Watch Dogs just showed itself once, hyped people, and then came out at the quality it came out at, like they didn't have to delay it for forever, I think people would have been okay with it. But that whole long 2-3 year period with all the delays, with all the unknowns, that's what kills it for a lot of people, that they get literally angry at these games. That's all I'm saying. Like, you get these harsh reactions to games like Watch Dogs, No Man's Sky, all these games that were delayed but also hyped while they were delayed.
Right.
And the results aren't always great.
Well, and I know sometimes it pays off to avoid giving a release date. Like, you'll give it a release window, but that gets pushed back. I don't think people are as harsh on that as when you give a hard and fast date and then that moves. Like, Final Fantasy 15 is the most recent example of that. You know, and Last Guardian, another example of that.
Terrible. I mean, how do you do that? How do you throw a party and troll people and say it's going to be, November 30th? And then you give your real answer, which is September 30th, which everybody knew. It was leaked.
Yeah.
And then you really delay it to November 29th.
Past November 30th. Isn't it in December now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, wait. I think it's November 29th.
Oh,
It's November 29th.
Anyway, all that to say, I do
sure.
think that the one game I think of that did it wonderfully was Fallout 4. You know, they officially announced it at that E3 and it released that next fall. You could make an argument, based on what I've played and what I've read a lot about Fallout 4, that game probably could have used another round of polish. You know, maybe they could have delayed that game and polished it and fine-tuned some things and fixed some of the animations. And I mean, who knows? You could have gone. But they released the game, and it was a great experience for those who loved it. It's what they wanted. It's what they expected with all its faults. Mm-hmm. And they've been able to improve it with patches and with downloadable stuff as time has gone on. I think that's the way to do it. I think, even though I just made the argument that I think it can help, in more cases I think it does help, I do think that Fallout 4 template is what people should follow, what developers should follow, and that is wait as long as you can to reveal, set the release date, hit the release date, even if you've got some flaws there. You can't just delay because you've got some technical flaws that you want to iron out, unless it's game breaking. Hit the release date whenever you can, and then improve as you're able to. I think that's the best template when possible. I know it's not always possible. In some cases, it's like, hey, this technical thing we ran into makes the game unplayable. Then what can you do? You have to delay at that point. But ideally, the Fallout 4 template is the one to follow, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think as much as it upsets me that Mass Effect Andromeda has not really shown us anything, I think it's smart that EA's done it that way. They haven't given us an exact release date. They've stayed really vague, really secretive. All we know, and this is why I said it's kind of a good thing, is that it exists. We don't know much else. Yep. And so I think when they actually launch it, and they've spent a lot of time on it, this is a game that right now, where it's at, you can't. The only way you can overhype it is just because you're a Mass Effect fanboy. But you can't overhype it over what they've shown or what they've talked about, because they haven't. Right. And so when the game's ready, I think they'll hit their release date, because, again, they haven't jumped on, showing it 3 years early and saying, hey, by the way, we're coming out March 2017. They haven't done anything like that. Right. And so I think when it finally comes out, and hopefully there won't be a delay, and they release it, we'll be real happy about that. But it's because of how they did it. They were like, it exists. That's it. That's all you know. Yep. And Fallout 4 didn't acknowledge, Bethesda didn't acknowledge Fallout 4 existed, and then they finally were like, it exists, and here's what it looks like, and it'll be out in 6 months. I'd prefer them to do that, but I understand not everybody can do that. You gotta hype up new IPs. These IPs that, like, Fallout, you don't need to hype that. You come out on stage and say, hey, not only does it exist, here it is, and you could have it in 6 months, and everybody's buying it.
Yeah, it's beautiful when it works that way.
Watch Dogs, stuff like that, they understand. Yeah. They've got to show it for years, because they're like, this is a new IP. We're trying to sell you on this. I know I'm harder on new IPs, and what I mean by harder is I like to check reviews. I like to research and know everything about a new IP before I invest in it, because I don't know what I'm getting into. Even if I know the publisher and the developer, and I know a lot of these publishers and developers, and I like them, but they don't always put out the best work on every new IP. So I always have to go into it very cautious, and then once they've hit me with a good IP, that's when I'm like, oh, you can release a sequel, and it could be totally different. I wouldn't even care. I'd still buy it because it's part of that franchise.
That's a great point.
I like.
I mean, in an ideal world, there would be no delays, but the reality is they happen. And
Tim, all my points are great.
That's true. That's so true. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. On this coming Friday, on September 30th, I believe it's a Friday. Let's all take a moment of silence for what should have been us diving into the world of Final Fantasy 15.
That's
right. So let's do that this Friday together.
Which I'm still excited for because I've pre-ordered it twice now, thanks to Sony.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. We are going to sign off with that, and we will catch you guys next time. Derek, see you later.
Bye.
Who is your daddy? I am the father.
You fathers will understand.
My father taught me many things.
I got an idea. How about you all sit there quietly while I make dad noises?